showing graphically kind of the configuration of the ice at the late glacial maximum. And
so this was what time period? How many years ago?
This would have been about 16 to 20,000 years ago. And here you go. Here you can see the two ice sheets, the Cordilleran and the Laurentide. And this is the area where the ice-free corridor would have been that we were talking about. This box right here shows the area of the Missoula floods, they're called. Let's just go find us. There we go. So here, this would have been Lake Missoula, and this would have been all of the area that we were just looking at where it's eroded. All that water would have come down, flowed through the Columbia Gorge here. This Portland is right here, would have turned north, and right here at Astoria, it would have drained into the Pacific Ocean. There was so much water coming down here that it backed all the way up through Willamette Valley and formed a temporary body of water 400 feet deep, where Portland now is, which would have completely submerged Portland, right? So this is basically the configuration. Now, there you can see this would have been the ice dam. Let's see here. So I could go back to the maps. That's the lake. So this was a very controversial over because J. Harlan Bretz, who was the geologist who first theorized this. Let's see. Here he is right here. He was considered a crackpot because he was talking about giant floods back in the 1920s and 30s. But of course, he was proven right, and end up being the recipient of the Penrose Medal in his 90s.
So he was the first one to speculate?
Yeah.
And what was his reasoning? Like, where did he see the evidence for some sort of a flooding?
He was doing research along the Columbia River, and he kept seeing evidence like these gigantic gravel bars and boulders and things that seemed out of place. And he actually, in fact, in 1910 is when he got interested in this, and he saw, in fact, I'll pull this up. I'll go back to Google Maps, and there was a newly released map that came out that was this feature right here. And in a minute, I'll show you some drone footage of this feature. This new topographic map came out in 1910, and he was regularly getting maps. He loved to look at maps. And he was looking at this feature, and he said, what the hell is the explanation for this? And this is what started him on this quest, this thing right here. It's called Potholes Cataract. And Potholes Cataract is a giant erosional feature in the basalt, the edge of the basalt plateau. And the water came from the right. And what you have here, we'll zoom in. You see this kind of round hole right here?
Yes.
That is a result of what's called colking. This is colking. When the water gets so turbulent that it's doing this, like a tornado. And it literally can drill into the rock in a matter of days. It can drill. And what you see here is the evidence of gigantic turbulence. And this is called a recessional cataract. So as the water pours over this, picture you've got the rock. Okay, so the water is pouring over it. And as it pours over, it's eroding the wall of the cataract back. So it's receding. And then it's going to keep receding until there's no more water. And at the time the flood spigots are turned off, you're now left with this fossil feature.
Is there a geological formation, like a style of, like, what you're calling it, colking? Is that what you're saying?
Kolking.
Is there something that it does to the walls of that particular lake that make it evident that it was done that way? Like, does it leave like almost like a water drill? Like, a drill would leave markings?
Is the holes drilled in the rock.
Oh.
That's the evidence. And yeah, and I mean, we can see turbulence in modern water flows. But the thing is, to do something like this, you have to have extremely deep, extremely fast-moving turbulent water and sustained for maybe in this case a few weeks.
So a few weeks made that lake just by water spinning.
Oh yeah, a few weeks made this whole feature right here. And what you have is you have two alcoves. Here's the north alcove and the south alcove, separated by what's called a rock blade. And that rock blade, if that water had continued to pour over for another few days, that rock blade would have been gone. Completely gone.
So it's just spinning at a furious pace, massive amounts of water, and it's drilling into the stone. And how deep is it?
Well, we can kind of estimate because the major discharge point of this water was right down here. And look at this terrain. That is a terrain that has been tortured by extreme shear forces of water. Here it would have been about 400 feet deep. The width of this is about 9 miles. So you got to picture a river, 400 feet deep, 9 miles wide, and it's probably moving at 50 miles an hour, the water. And so we can go over here. This is a ridge separating this basin area here from the Columbia River. There were another spillover point was right here. It also has two alcoves with a rock blade. If we go back to Dry Falls Cataract, which is up here, you will see two alcoves, a rock blade, and you'll see that there's now a separation here. Because what's happening is this rock blade is being washed away. And again, had the water flow continued for another week or two, this rock blade would have been gone.
Now, is there a conventional explanation for these features? Do they try to come up with some other alternative explanation?
No, it's gigantic floods. Gigantic floods, yeah. That's pretty much accepted at this point. What's controversial is what caused.
And the speed of it?
No, the speed of it's pretty much accepted.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Even
yeah.
the speed of that caulking, like the cause of that's accepted?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what explanation would they give for something that is causing that much water to pass through an area that quickly?
Well, the draining of this lake.
Right, but that doesn't make any sense to you.
Doesn't make sense to me, no.
But this all coincides on the timeline of the Younger Dryas impact theory.
This is controversial, but yes, I'm thinking that there was at least maybe 3 episodes of catastrophic flooding imprinted in this landscape. The first one, I would speculate, was at 14,600. Second one would have been Younger Dryas, and the third one would have been 11,600.
Now, I know that they've found evidence of human beings in North America that predate 11,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.